When the Junior League of Huntington was founded on December 9, 1928, to organize the Family Welfare Society and Baby Clinic, many people may not have realized the lasting impact this organization would have on our community. Through programs such as a roving puppet theater, the Safe Rider program, Mr. Yuck Poison Control program, the Ritter Park Playground expansion, cookbooks, horse shows, and rummage sales, this organization met the needs of the community, all while promoting volunteerism and friendship. Over 30 years ago, Martha Woodward and the Junior League of Huntington implemented a plan to address child abuse in Cabell County. That insight and determination would not only help to better the community at the time, but lead to the creation of Team for West Virginia Children, which has become a statewide leader in providing families and communities with the tools they need to support children and prevent child abuse and neglect.
Well, I was working at the Mental Health Center, and it actually was a partnership between the Mental Health Center and Junior League. And Nancy Matthews and Sharon Moon at the Mental Health Center and Martha Woodward from Junior League really had this idea that we needed to come together as a community and do something to address the issue of child abuse and neglect. And so they brought together, and Martha was just incredible at getting all the players together, from the police chief to the prosecutor to, I think, some religious leaders to folks in mental health to pediatricians, all coming together in a large community meeting to try to work together and see what needed to be done.
After deciding to focus on prevention, the group approached the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources for a small grant to pilot the Child Assault Prevention Project at Spring Hill Elementary. Michael O'Farrell was instrumental in providing that grant funding. A few short years later, Team for West Virginia Children was born.
Well, I think it's certainly created some networks of folks and agencies working together that's been really important in their respective professions: the pediatricians, the attorneys, the social workers at DHHR, mental health center practitioners are so involved with dealing with the crises and the everyday, nuts and bolts of families that are needing help, that this has really helped to focus on prevention and to kind of fill that niche.
Many people who have worked with Martha credit her demeanor and willingness to listen as the key to her successful tenure with the Junior League of Huntington.
First of all, she just had one of the personalities that could work with anybody, and was really good at just being able to bring people together and gain consensus and collaborate. And she had a collaborative spirit.
She's a very good listener, and when you're with Martha in a situation such as when she would have a leadership position, a committee, or even on a committee, you knew when she said something that she had thought it through, came from a very good perspective.
That quiet leadership style and willingness to collaborate made a big impression on those around her.
Martha was the director of the Society of Jaeger Scholars when I was a Jaeger Scholar back in the 1990s. Martha, I think for me, really set an example for leadership at a very formative time in my life. She was a great example of someone who put the greater good above her own self-interest all the time, relentlessly.
Tonight, Team for West Virginia Children is proud to present the Service to Children Award to Martha Woodward and the Junior League of Huntington for their role in fostering an idea that eventually led to the creation of the team. Throughout the 30 years, the team was growing and building capacity around the state. Several local and statewide programs have been established. Here's a look back at how these programs began.
What I liked, and always have liked and still like, about the CASA program is that there is an individual there who usually isn't a lawyer, although we have had a few lawyers volunteer. And even though the child has an appointed guardian ad litem, there's something about having that human being there that is taking an interest in that one child's life, and from a humanistic point of view, not rushed by whatever pressures are on the appointed guardian ad litem or other lawyers in the case, make sure that that kid is not lost in the shuffle. And I cannot tell you how many cases we would have where I would say, who's talked to the child about what's happened? Nobody had. Here, a child would be removed from his home in a very quick fashion, maybe a well-deserved removal, but nobody had sat and talked to that child. They were just, in the dark on what happened to him and what was going to happen to him. So I think those are the kinds of voids that CASA volunteers feel that the system and that lawyers don't feel.
Back in 1993, the Family Resource Network was born, and we were looking at ways that you could serve families that was not income-based or you had to be of a certain delay. We started looking and researching and ideas, and so we found the Healthy Families model, which was evidence-based, long-term strength, family-centered approach. And so the Family Resource Network was able to apply to the Governor's Cabinet on Children and Families at the time for an implementation grant. So we were able to get specific funding to start it. So it started with one project coordinator and one in-home parent education staff person 20 years ago.
In 1996, I started working for the team as a coordinator for the Healthy Families program, and exciting that it was the first Healthy Families program in the state. I went to that technical assistance event and had the good fortune to meet a couple of other wonderful, awesome ladies in West Virginia, and we started kind of chatting with one another about what we do in our local communities and discovered that we had so many more similarities than differences, and that began kind of a coordinated effort to really promote the importance of these programs, but doing it collectively.
Prevent Child Abuse West Virginia, there's a bunch of ways to describe it. I think the most important thing is focusing on prevention itself is not the norm, right? We talk about treatment and we talk about intervention, but to sort of get to that, as we always say, the head of the river and figure out how to prevent something from ever happening, that work doesn't happen with as much regularity as we would like. So to have an organization like TEAM step in, as many have done around the country, and say we're planting a stake in the prevention discussion and the prevention effort, it's significant.
In 2012, the council formed an ad hoc subcommittee around infant mental health and began working with Therese Ehlers out of Wisconsin to really go through a deliberative study on what were infant toddler mental health competencies and endorsement system. And it became evident that we should buy the Michigan competency and endorsement system. That was, I think, a unanimous decision by that group. And that group made that recommendation to the full council, and the full council decided to do that. And so at that point, when we were having conversations with Michigan, for some very good reasons, likes it to live outside of state government. And so the council started thinking, who in West Virginia can house this and really support this, and whose mission does it mesh with really well? And TEAM was the obvious choice.
It is amazing that all of these programs spun out of the need that Martha Woodward and the Junior League of Huntington identified in the community over 30 years ago. Our community and state leaders have benefited from Martha's collaborative spirit and leadership. As the team celebrates its 30th birthday, it is time to say well done to Martha and the Junior League of Huntington. We are so grateful for your vision in recognizing the importance of promoting child well-being that gave the team the foundation from which to grow and flourish.